The first time I remember really calling a big match for him, and I don't know where we are in our format because I'm having some technical things here with that. But was he had a match with Jushin Liger?
Oh my goodness, a classic.
And that was classic, yeah, and it was different, and it was new, and he had watched Liger so much on videotape from Japan that he had that act down really well, and then consequently they had wonderful chemistry, and they presented a match that was, I want to say that match was in Milwaukee. I might be wrong, but in any event, Clash of Champions or something along those lines. But it was really an experience to see those two guys, and they stole the show. And there was a lot of top Hall of Fame like guys on that card, but Pillman and Liger, Liger's doing this, not cutting any promos.
Right.
It's just a different feel. Everything was a different feel in that particular booking. So, but we didn't know what to expect.
The match we cared about was SuperBrawl 2, February of '92 in Milwaukee. They went 17 minutes, and people were talking about it like it was a classic. But here's a little fun fact for you. It almost didn't happen. Let me explain. The original idea, according to Dave Meltzer, was that Brian Pillman was going to be brought in as a heel, managed by Paulie Dangerously, who was going to put him with Dennis Condrey to create a new version of the Midnight Express. But the booker at the time, George Scott, didn't want to bring in a wrestler he'd never heard of. I love the idea of thinking about Brian Pillman working with Paul Heyman. And man, I don't think Dennis Condrey gets his flowers enough. I know a lot of people, especially FTR, consider him to be the greatest tag team wrestler of all time. He's certainly in the conversation.
Absolutely.
That could have been incredible, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, the influence that Heyman would have had on young Brian Pillman would be insurmountable. It's just a great combination. He was going to find his place again. When you're the littlest guy on the football team and you become an All-American, when you're the smallest guy on the football team and you win a very prestigious NFL award, you know that Pillman's going to find his route. Whatever that route may be, Brian's going to keep looking until he finds it. And he finds some I don't know, just comfort, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say. He found what he was looking for as far as getting an opportunity to be a star. And he didn't drop the ball. He played his ass off. And again, he just was an amazing kid. Just an amazing kid. I think about him a lot, as a matter of fact. I see a lot of people send me videos on Twitter at JRSBBQ, which I appreciate. I just never saw Brian have a bad match. You know, he always gave you extra. And that's what you look for in talent. That's willing to go out and give you extra, even though they may not be going over. It's the old deal. It's not exactly who goes over, it's who gets over. And Brian got over.
He did get over, and he gets over when he comes in as a baby face with a bunch of music videos to sort of hype his entrance. And this all happens after Mr. Scott is let go. As you may recall, there was that whole debacle where he booked the Superdome with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat on top to go head to head with WrestleMania, and then thought, well, let's just promote it on TV and not worry about trying to sell tickets. That was a bad call. Mr. Scott was shooting the door. And that created an opportunity for Brian Pillman to come in as a babyface. And Dave would write in the Observer that he was he was getting a bit of a reputation for being more inexperienced and more quote unquote green than he really was. But that was just butterflies. And once they wore off and he found that comfort you were alluding to, people started to say, man, this guy's improving at an amazing rate. So all of a sudden, you know, it feels like it was stop and start, and then he's off to the races. And I think a lot of people probably take a look at a guy his size and think, hey, maybe this is our next Ricky Morton type guy, because a few years prior to this, Ricky Morton had a reputation for being one of the best in the business and quite a draw.
Yeah. You know, Brian just kept looking for his path. And then he was provided some amazing opportunities that he took advantage of. There's one thing about getting an opportunity. The other thing is taking advantage of it and making it work for you. And Brian made it work for him. The George Scott thing. I don't want to use somebody I don't know. Well, you should know these guys,
right?
You get to know them. Trust me a little bit. That hey, nobody else in our booking committee's doing a hell of a lot to bring in new talent. And if you don't have a continual flow of new talent coming into your company, you're screwing yourself. Wrestling fans like new. They like surprises. And they accepted Brian like he was one of our own. And he was, quite frankly. But when he first got there, he had to tread lightly a little bit. Brian could be abrasive. He could be very confident. And he had a high he had a very high desire to deliver the goods. And he always did. And that's one of the reasons, Conrad, that I like to recruit people from team sports. They're used to structure.
Yes.
They're pushing themselves. And so that was where I put Brian in that spot, that he was going to be, he's going to be self-motivated. But ball players don't want to play on a second team. Ball players want to be in the best shape. They want to be the most aggressive. They want to be the most entertaining. They want to be good. And Brian wanted all those things. But sometimes along the way, you can step on a few toes of the incumbents who are doing the same moveset, the same, sequencing that they've always done. Nothing new. And with Brian, you always found him bringing something new to the equation. And that's one of the great things I loved about it. He kept refreshing his game.
SaveWithConrad.com. My name's Daryl. Came from Massachusetts and I moved to Wisconsin. And there's a lot of people that might be asking, why go with Conrad? Why go with Supreme Lending? And let me tell you something, brother. I think about the credentials, the tag team partner that I'd be working with. First of all, we got the podfather himself, Conrad. How can you go wrong with that? And then also go on to SaveWithEric.com, which, who else could have kicked Vince's ass for 83 consecutive weeks? You can't beat that duo right there. But they did bring a secret weapon, and I didn't realize this because this was not advertised. I worked closely with Larry the Axe Thompson. And let me tell you, with all the stress with moving across the country with a large family that I have, it was reassuring to know that I had the enforcer at my back, handling questions from the other side of sellers, the other side with trying to find the right prices. He took care of all that. All I had to do was keep my eye on the prize and make it there to Wisconsin. They were absolutely fantastic. They checked in on me, especially Francis, very patient with me. I don't go through this process all the time, so I trusted the experts. I was able to call them. They called me if they had questions, and it felt like it was a personal arrangement. There was even a point in which, from the seller side, they wanted something else that wasn't part of the norm. Francis straight up told me, hey, we're loyal to you. We'll do whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure that you guys are taken care of. They came through. I made it to the dream. I'm the champion of my own destiny here. They were able to help pave the way for me and my family. I couldn't be more happy with the results. I went from having less than an acre to now 20 acres worth of land. They made that dream a reality. I'm Daryl, and I'm living in Friendship, Wisconsin, in my dream home, thanks to SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.